Hello everyone, today I'm going to be going over a novice B-shot clear of Dodonpachi Saidaioujou. This is a new game that I've been playing. The game recently released on the Nintendo Switch, and it's based off the Xbox 360 port, so it's something that I've never been able to play. I've always have wanted to play it, and so I'm excited to do this now. And as with any new shmup that I go into, I do always go into the novice mode, just to get a sense of the enemy placement, the mechanics of the game, and how the ships move, because of course each game plays very differently. And so while I have a lot of history with Crimson Clover and have done the more advanced arcade clears there, I always like going into the novice modes because there are some games that the novice modes definitely are not free, and this is definitely the case here where this is not a blind clear. This took me a little bit of time, about 5 or 6 hours to clear the game with this with the B shot. And part of that involves an adjustment period from Crimson Clover, what I was playing before, and I'll detail that here. So the first thing that you'll see here, I picked the B shot. I'm a fan of the swivel, and so the shot type has a wider shot, or wider rapid shot, and the B type ship in particular, the options swivel in the direction that you are steering your ship, which I find useful in case I have to lead my fire in the direction that I'm facing here. What I activated here was a hyper, so we have access to 10 hypers, or well, 1 hyper, but that can go all the way up to level 10. And when you activate your hyper, all the bullets on screen get canceled out and allow you to get a little more movement in, and then you get increased firepower with your rapid shot and your laser. And so here I'm on the first boss here. Not too bad actually in this in stage 1, and what you'll see here is there will be pockets of heavy difficulty in this novice run, and then followed by pockets of really relatively easier patterns. And so this one is very manageable, and you just kind of dodging back and forth, and this attempts to misdirect you. And I've had cases where the boss will float, half of the boss will float off screen, and so there'll be only half of the bullets firing at me, which is kind of an interesting glitch. But here we are at the end of stage 1, but you'll see that number on the bottom of my ship indicates my hyper level. So like I said, we get 10 hypers. I don't ever fill up the max hyper in this run, but the larger the hyper level, the more powerful it is and the longer it lasts. And so here we are on stage 2. You'll see that there are bees that you can collect. The bees are hidden. They are partially revealed by your shot, but you have to shoot them with your laser to actually reveal them and pick them up. The bees are a requirement if you want to get into the TLB, the Hibachi true last boss. And so those details I'll go over a little bit later, but here we are into the first minor difficulty spike here, approaching the mid-boss of the stage, but overall not too bad. The B-shot type I feel like is very powerful here, just because the shot is wide enough that it looks like it covers most of the top of the screen in the cone, and then with the swivel shot is covers like the corners. So, and here I'm activating my hyper on this mid-boss, just slowly dodging to the right here. Nothing too crazy here, and then the hit counter, I like how the hit counter rapidly increases with my hyper. And speaking of the hit counter, you'll see the red bar in the left corner there that fills up with each kill. That's the combo timer. And the combo timer fills up or becomes larger when I go into hyper. So it gives me more time to maintain my chain, which is the hit counter there. The larger the hit counter, the greater my score. I'm not aiming to score in here. Here I'm just going for the very first novice clear, but I do want to increase keep the chain as high as possible, because one survival benefit is that your hyper fills up faster with your chain. So the higher chain you have, the hyper fills up faster. So that's a survival advantage to keep the chain going. You'll see the combo timer stalling here, because as long as I keep my laser trained on the boss, the combo timer won't deplete to 0. And there you'll see I would have gotten hit. I'm not entirely familiar with these patterns yet, and if you've seen my channel in the past, I despise needle patterns, and so in a way this is really good training for me, because these needle patterns, for some reason, especially when they overlap, I have a lot of trouble dodging them. So I'm grateful for the relatively slower needle patterns here, but here I'm just going to find the gaps and move left and right between these little needle walls here, and I'll be able to clear this boss out. So even though I'm not really proficient in chaining, I got a 2179 hit counter, which is kind of nice. The combo timer is definitely a lot more lenient in Saidaioujou than it is in a game like Daioujo, so it is definitely possible that you'll get hit counters in the thousands even on a novice run. Here we are in stage 3, and typical of cave stage 3s, you have your first difficulty spike. The difficulty spike really comes into effect when the mid-boss comes in, and so you'll see that here. Here we have the turret, and one thing I noticed here, and you'll see it a little bit now as we advance, and I got hit and then triggered my auto bomb, is that the bullets seem a little bit faster than they usually do, and they'll get faster as we go along in the run. And there are of course a lot of needle patterns, which really throws me off, but we're approaching the mid-boss here, and then got a little bit dense bullets here, but I'm hugging the corners, and then this is where, like I said before, the swiveling options really help me out and clear out a lot of the enemies. And so just hanging out towards the bottom, and I'm covering most of the screen, and the reason why I chose this B-type ship over something like C-type, which is a really wide shot, is because I felt like the C-type at this point, it covered too much. It was a little bit too wide, and I felt like the bullets were going a little too far off screen, so I didn't get as much concentrated fire as I wanted to. Whereas the A-type ship is definitely powerful. A lot of players recommend doing A shot, but I feel like it's a bit too narrow for me, so the B ship is a good compromise. Here the density is increasing a little bit, and you'll see that in this part, some of these turrets provide bullet cancels when you kill them. And so this one coming up here, when I laser it, it cancels the bullets on screen, which is helpful when you go into the arcade difficulty. You can time that out and give yourself a little bit of breathing room. And so this boss is just a giant ship that keeps floating along, and so I'm just going to keep training my laser on it. And here's where things get a little hectic, but I'm hanging through. I'm just inching my way across the screen. Had a few tight dodges there, but I managed to make it. And I'm going to try to get the bomb pickup. These bomb pickups are kind of tricky because as soon as I try to go up and get them, it's like they're running away from me. So I'm like trying to inch my way up the screen without getting hit, and I managed to get it there. I've had plenty of runs before this where I try to get the bomb pickup and end up getting sniped by a bullet from the side, so it's kind of I have to be careful getting the bomb pickup there. But here we are, so I'm just training my shot here. We're gonna have tanks coming in from the sides. As long as I keep my shot trained, then I should have no problem taking these down and moving forward through the stage. So one thing you'll see in the middle of the screen is the rank meter. So right now I'm at rank 4. I think the max rank is 50, so I'm not going to get to rank 50 in this run. Rank increases when you activate your hyper, and rank decreases whenever you bomb and whenever you get hit. So the rank increases the speed of the bullets, so as you get to a really high rank, the bullets can go really, really fast. And then picking up bees also increases your hyper, and if you happen to grab all the bees in a level, then the last bee that you get gives you a full hyper gauge. So that's kind of useful too. So here on the third boss, we have more of my favorite needle patterns, but I'm just gonna inch my way off to the side and through these gaps here. This one's a bit tricky because sometimes those bursts can occur right behind you. And so if I'm not in a good spot, I'll get hit by that. And then here is just inching it off to the left and right, and they'll get a little bit denser as you go over time, but it's nothing too crazy here. This is the fortunate thing about playing the novice mode. And here we go, we have these kind of like floating pods that shoot bullets to the side if you don't shoot them on time, and when you kill them, when you destroy them, they fire off some revenge bullets. So that can get a little bit tricky. And then this last pattern is the boss's final attack, where over time it'll get denser, but with the lower HP of the novice mode, by the time it gets really dense, the boss should be almost destroyed. So I'm ending the stage with 3 hypers in stock, and I have 3 extends, which is good. Coming up on stage 4, this is where the enemies get a little bit hectic, and a good thing about playing and practicing on Novice, and especially with this stage and stage 5, is that the enemy placements are the same. So the enemy placement doesn't change between the Novice and the arcade mode, it's just the rate of fire and the bullet speed. So it's a good thing to, if you're getting familiar with a new game like I am with this one, I'm starting off with the Novice mode so that I know where the enemies are going to come from and I can position myself accordingly. And I almost got hit there and activate my bomb. So that was a pretty good panic bomb that I did there. And but yeah, so the enemy placements aren't any different. It's just that the rate of fire and the speed is different, drastically different between this and arcade mode. So it's a bit helpful to get a leg up in practicing that way. And then we're gonna come up on the, I took a hit there. Didn't squeeze in there in time. The hitbox is one thing that is a lot different from this game than other bullet hells, is that the hitbox is a bit larger, which makes mid-bosses like this a bit tougher, especially if you want to get the hidden extend. And so the secret with this one is, as long as I don't bomb, I can get the hidden extend with this boss. That includes getting hit, so if I happen to get hit, as long as I don't bomb, then I'll be able to get a life. Narrowly dodge that there, and here I'm just going to dodge through these falling gaps here. And then one bad thing about the shot, of course, is that my laser isn't very good, and so I'm squeezing through and I managed to not get hit, and I'm hanging in there. And then I move up on the screen because that, like those bomb pickups, the one-up boxes, or the pickups sometimes run away from you, so it's important to get up there quickly to grab it before these enemies start rushing down on you. And as we go into this backwards door opening sequence here, these enemies will rush you, and especially these planes will try to pick you off from the side. And sometimes what happened to me, I'd be so focused on what's ahead of me, and then the bullet on the side would randomly tag me. So definitely important to pay attention there. One thing that, a note in terms of bombs is that you have 2 options that you might have noticed at the start of the screen, where you can choose auto bomb off or on. And so depending on how risky I'm feeling, I'll choose off or on. I know that if you decide to have auto bomb on, you get fewer bombs, and if you don't have, if you choose off. However, of course, you lose that safety net of where if you get hit, then it would trigger your auto bomb. If you do trigger auto bomb, all of your bombs get depleted at once, no matter how many you have in stock. So that's one trade-off. If you don't have the auto bomb option toggled, then you do get more bombs. However, you of course run the possibility of getting hit with a lot of bombs in stock, and depending on the shot type, that could be a lot. So the B shot, or the shot type, you start off with 3 bombs, and then with each hit you take, your bomb stock increases by 1. So if you're playing a bit reckless, you could have 6 bombs in stock like I've done, and you get hit and you lose all 6 bombs, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it feels terrible. So if you're going for your first clear, it's better to bomb a little bit more proactively than reactively. That way you don't run the risk of losing a life with a full bomb stock. That's never any fun. Stage 4 boss here gets a little bit harder, where you just have to dodge through these gaps here, and then this pattern is a bit easier. You just, since it's Novice mode, I think normally, a lot more bullets would fire down in the middle, so as long as you stay in the middle there, nothing's going to happen. And then here, the boss will transform, and it'll start firing off these two varying lanes. I'm just going to inch forward and I run out of room, so I'm inching to the top, make it down here, and then I'm just going to go all the way to the left. And then I didn't think the bullets would be that wide, so I ended up getting hit there, and then I was going to get hit again, so I bombed, which I'm glad I did. And then here we have these pods, and for some reason I went for a trick that I've seen happen in clears where you can use the aura from your laser attack to destroy those discs while you're hugging close to the boss to fill up your hypermeter. I didn't realize it was going to happen there because I didn't mean to try that trick. I just wanted to get more damage on the boss, and so I ended up getting trapped, and I didn't know how to get out properly and I got hit. But I know in higher level runs you can really quickly fill up your hypermeter by destroying those discs with your aura shot. Something I'll definitely have to learn and show you all later. So here are in stage 5, and I will admit that for a novice builder, this stage 5 is fairly difficult, and you'll see why. Especially, we start off with a fairly densely packed start. So if you have a hyper, I definitely recommend starting this level with your hyperactive to give yourself a little bit of breathing room here. Because what will happen is all these popcorn enemies will fire bullet spreads, those red bullet spreads, and later on these spreads get pretty thick, and so you have to kind of create your own lane to dodge there. And there's my lucky dodge. So here we go, another spread, and then the turrets as well, instead of firing two walls of bullets, they fire multiple walls of bullets there, so it gets more difficult. You have two turrets here, as long as you, and this is where the enemy placement familiarity comes into play, where those turrets won't fire if you kill them fast enough. And so here I activate my hyper because I anticipated that I was going to get hit, and I have no bombs in stock, so I'm using it defensively here. And then inching through, and so now we're gonna have this green transformation effect, and we have a mid-boss rush. The first mid-boss in this pattern, I can squeeze through here, and then this gets a little tricky. Manage to dodge it, and then here we have these revenge bullets coming from the mines that are shot down. Get another close dodge here, and then I'm gonna try to weave back and forth. This is definitely not the optimal dodging pattern for that. And then this one I managed to dodge. In previous runs I typically would get hit because I did not expect the boss to rush me like that. And so to be on the safe side, I activated my hyper because I figured my luck was running out soon with this boss, so I used my hyper, and then which I'm glad I did, because these popcorn enemies can flood the screen with the revenge bullets quickly. And so here we're on the second boss, and the lanes are a little tighter, significantly tighter than before, but managed to get through. And then here I'm going to inch all the way to the side as far as I can and use up as much real estate as I can here. I picked that one off, and then after this one, like before, I get a flood of popcorn enemies that try to wall me off with these little tiny red bullets here. And this is where the swivel shot again is proving very useful to me. And then now we have the third mid-boss, this kind of weaving through these lanes here. And then since I took too long, the mid-boss ran away, which at this point I'm not really complaining about. And so here we have the second part of stage 5, which is going to be characterized by, again, a lot of these popcorn enemies flooding the screen with these red spreads. And then at some point we're going to have, I'll see these turrets that'll fire a spiraling pattern of bullets, and those will provide me a bullet cancel, so you'll see those coming up very soon. So here I'm just going to inch over, taking advantage of the wider shot that I have here, and that's what I'm talking. So destroying those will give me a bullet cancel, and that'll be useful when the screen kind of starts to fill up with bullets, and I'm using that time to activate my rapid shot. Well, trigger my auto bomb, but activate my rapid shot to pick off these smaller enemies here. And woof, inching forward, yeah, it gets kind of hectic. So I still have 2 extends left, so I'm pretty happy, but I went the wrong way. I should have steered over to the right. So I activated my hyper because I don't want to die. I don't want to trigger my auto bomb. And now I'm just swiveling back and forth to try to pick off as many enemies as I can. I'm ignoring my chain meter. At this point, I'm just trying to survive. So I'm not trying to increase my chain counter, although the fact that I'm at almost 1100 is pretty good. And so I'm not picking up any Bs either. So here's another tight lane here that I'm squeezing through, and I gotta get that bullet cancel. I managed to get it. Going to the right here. We're nearing the end of this little section, and I activate my bomb here because I thought I was going to get hit. And then I'm swiveling back and forth to try to get as much coverage as I can. And there's another one of those turrets where I wasn't going to be able to get there in time to get the bullet cancel, and so I activate my bomb. This one I will be able to get, which will be nice. Although I feel like I should have destroyed it a little later, but good thing I have a hyper here to get me through. And so, as I'm rewatching this, it's, for a novice mode, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good difficulty where if you are playing recklessly, especially during this point, you will definitely not clear the game. So it's important. Yeah, definitely something to pay attention. It's not super easy. This is the final tank rush. All of these enemies most of these enemies are grounded, so you don't have to worry about colliding with them. Of course, you have these large enemies here that are airborne, so that's just one thing to pay attention to. If you feel like the enemies are crowding you, use your laser, because the aura laser will prevent any collision. So if an enemy is going to collide with you, like a popcorn enemy, it won't collide if you're using your laser because of your aura. So here we are on the final boss. It'll start by firing these random or kind of spiralish needle-shaped patterns here that get a little bit more intense. This one isn't as bad as the stage 2 needle pattern in the beginning, and the bullets are slow enough for me to weave through them. And then here we have these lines where I have to go through the blue while dodging the pink. And so it's helpful to move forward if you need to give yourself a lane to fly through. And of course, in this process I had my finger hovering over the bomb button, but so far so good. And then next I have these, which try to cut you off and try to create like a wall to cut you off, and then you have these blue bullets that try to cut off your cutback lane. And so this one gets a little tricky because the bullets get denser, and then since the pink ones are aimed at you, then it'll be you can run out of space if you're not weaving through carefully. But I managed to make it through the first part, so now the boss transforms, and I have my hyper on for a little bit more damage. And then this boss has a gotcha moment that you'll see coming soon. And but so far you're weaving through here, and then we have these patterns with the blue, so I'm just trying to go off to the side as far as I can. And now here's where the stinger comes out, and you got to be careful with this pattern because the shards fire off revenge bullets when you fire on them. And since I ran out of room and I dodged the wrong way, I had to bomb. And then here's the gotcha moment where if you're not paying attention, that stinger will collide into you and hit you. And then it fires off this one, and yeah, I was definitely not in position, so not too mad that I got hit there. And then here is the portion where these walls of shards come down and the game slows down because of everything that's happening. So as long as you train your laser and you destroy those shards, and I'm hanging off to the side here because of those aimed sets of pink bullets that are trying to fire at me. If I'm hanging out on the left here, all I have to do is avoid the occasional blue needle that's falling vertically, and then I don't have to worry about any of those red bullets coming from the bottom because in the corner there aren't any. And then all I have to do is move back up and down far enough so that I have room to move away from those aimed bullets. And it gets kind of tight sometimes, but as long as I'm hanging out towards that left wall, I can make it through. And I get a huge star pickup because I destroyed that phase while I was in hyper. And then here's the final pattern here. This is where it kind of gets hectic, where you have these large walls of blue aimed bullets and these swervy lanes of to weave through. And so this is where I just recommend, if you have bombs, use it, and if not, then yeah, just try to survive as long as possible. But I made it through. Definitely not the prettiest clear. This is pretty ugly clear for my very first clear of the game, but I'm happy with it, and I'm happy with the ship. And what I'll do is, since you have type A, B, and C, and then you have shot, laser, and expert type, the expert types I'm not going to go into yet because choosing the expert type increases the difficulty of the game. But this is the exploratory point where I'm going to find out which ship type and shot type combination I'm going to try to do my arcade clear in. And so BS is definitely a contender for me, given that this is my first clear of the game on novice mode. I enjoyed the shot width and the swivel shot, and the ship speed was pretty good and not too fast, not too slow. So this is kind of like the exploratory phase, and I hope this was helpful in getting the perspective on how I tackle new games and how I approach it. So if you'd enjoyed this commentary, I appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and drop a like, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone.